Well, it's that time of the week again. One second, let me just finish this. I'm spilling sunflower seeds everywhere. Welcome back to another quality episode of Cynic's Log. Was that a good intro? Thought I'd try something new. Maybe I'll do that every time now. Do I have any problems? Gotta look my best. Speaking of looking best, I got a couple of updates this week. Alright, so for one thing, I bought a new webcam, and I'm waiting for it to come in, and I'm hoping it's supposed to be better, and, you know, if that happens, maybe the visual quality of these videos will become better. So, it might be a week or two before we figure that out, but it's an update. Something's happening, so I thought I'd mention it. Second update for this week is I've been working on a new website. I don't know if anyone who watches these videos knows, but some time ago I got a website domain, and I used it with, it was kind of like, I used it with WordPress and kind of had it like a blog format type thing. And eventually I just realized it wasn't gonna happen. It was just too tedious to keep it up with the video stuff and everything, and I just was not interested enough in the website thing to keep it going. And so it's kind of just sat there dormant for a long time, and I've had no use for it until recently. I was like, maybe I'll use it as like a portfolio thing of all the different great things that I'm doing with my life. So that's what I've been doing, trying to build a website that will showcase all of my amazing talents. You don't have any amazing talents. Shut up, that's none of your business. It's not up and going yet, of course. Like I said, I'm building it. So once it is, maybe I'll mention it. We'll see. It'll happen eventually, maybe. It could. Third and final update for this week is I've been working on a new Minecraft animation. That sound interesting? Sound cool? If you watch my other videos, I have Minecraft animations, and they're pretty deliciously terrible. I'm working on one. Maybe I'll insert a screenshot for it here. Did you see it? Was there a screenshot there? Because if there was, then it was probably very disappointing. Alright, so with those updates out of the way, I hope those were very interesting and attention-grabbing. Anyway, I don't have any Today I Learned things today, or this week, because I didn't learn anything, because I'm dumb. So, we're just gonna move on. I wanted to talk about something today for the Cynic's Inner Thoughts segment, which I hope to have a new buffer for in this video. If it's there, it's there. If it ain't, it ain't. Hopefully it is. Anyway, something that's kind of relevant to me in my life, and I've been thinking about it, and I thought it would be cool to talk about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. As far as I know, I covered everything else, so if that's the case, then I guess it's time for... Alright, so today for Cynic's Inner Thoughts, I wanted to talk about how it sucks to be the strong one, if that makes any sense. And what I mean by the strong one, I don't necessarily think it means being a strong person. It's about being the strong one out of the people that you're around, or whoever you're with, someone, or, multiples. Whatever, being the person that tries to hold everything together all the time, being the person who tries not to freak out at every little problem, being the one who is always trying to keep things functioning and moving and progressing, trying to live and not get bogged down in all the drama and everything of life. I feel like a lot of stories, like if you watch movies or read articles or any form of media you could name, probably, they usually focus on the people who have problems and are like going through something, like the person who has all these issues and it's kind of like bogging down their life. Now, you do have stories that kind of focus on the strong one, but But they're usually like triumphant stories, like The Pursuit of Happiness or something, where they fight and fight and fight, and then at the end, some amazing payoff of everything. And not a lot of stories seem to focus on the people who just kind of have that life, the everyday. Like there is no triumph that has come to fruition or taken place. They just are living, and I don't really know if it's that big of a deal. It's just, I feel like I wanted to talk about it and kind of bring it to light, at least for my own sanity. Anyway, if you are that person, if you're the strong one, and again, I don't mean a strong person. I mean, it could mean a strong person, but I just mean the one who tries to hold things together when everybody else falls apart or someone else falls apart, whatever. If you're that person, or if you're not, and maybe you're the one who's counting on that person, then maybe this will bring up something that not many other things cover. Oh God, this is a bad direction I'm going in. So the best way I can think of to kind of give an example, to create an analogy, if you will, of this situation, okay, is like, imagine, if someone, they work a job and they are going to quit or they get fired, and they take all the precious things that they had in their office. Like, okay, we're assuming an office job here. You take all your personal things and you put them in a box and you carry them out. You always see that, in most movies. So you kind of imagine that the strong one, the strong person, I'm going to refer to him as the strong one, and that's just how it's going to be. No more quotations. I'm tired of it. You have your life and your problems and the issues that you have, the things that affect you. You put them all in this box. Like, you have like a box in your soul, and you allocate space for all these things. I got enough room for my bill problem, my money problems. I got enough room for my family problems, my personal problems, blah, blah, blah. Etc. And then, your box may be so big, and then you have people in your life who seem to have boxes that are like this big, right? So let's just say that you are dragging this box along with you throughout life, and the strong one, that person, is basically trying to deal with their issues and move along. They just keep walking, they just keep pushing through, because that's their process. Like, they just don't break down and show their weakness all the time or whatever. They're just trying to keep things functioning. They have to keep living. They have to keep moving because they can't afford to shut down. That, and or maybe that's just how they process their issues and how they deal with it. All right. And so you have the other people who think that their problems are so big, or, they may actually be big problems, or they are just kind of, exacerbating problems that maybe wouldn't have to be so big. Whatever the case, it's all subjective. So you have those people, and then they take their problems. They're like, I need your help. You're the strong one. You have to help me with this. I'm bringing my problem to you. So they take, all right, let's say your problems are rocks. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but your problems are rocks. You're carrying around all this weight, and you've allocated enough space to hold all this weight and hopefully deal with any curveballs that might come your way. So that person comes over and they're like, oh, I got this problem, and they lug it into your box. So they throw their rock into your box, and hopefully it's just a problem that they have and they want your help with it. Then, the strong one is like, hey, all right, let's see if we can work this out, and we'll keep on trucking. But then sometimes you have, like, especially people who are in your personal life, or I guess probably a lot of times in your like professional life, and coworkers and things like that. They bring a problem to you and it has to do with you, or it may loosely have to do with you or have nothing to do with you at all, and they make it about you somehow. So now you have their rock they throw in there, and then you have your own rock, which is the issue that they're unhappy about, or whatever it is that seems to be affecting them that they want you to address. So you've got your problem and their problem, and these rocks seem to just grow. Like, not only did they add weight, but now they've exacerbated both issues, and they've caused it to become heavier. Now you've gone from a rock or from a pebble to a rock. There we go. And so now you're trying to keep moving. The strong one is trying to keep moving. Like, okay, I'm carrying this weight. I'm going to try to deal with this, cast it off as soon as I can so that I can reallocate my sanity or whatever. So the problem is, though, is that because I feel that because that person continues to try to move, like they want to keep walking, they want to keep going, they want to deal with these problems and maintain living, they want to maintain function in their life. But everyone else seems to kind of just want to break down on them. Try not to take what I'm saying too literally, but people just tend to kind of want to set their problems and like they want to wallow in them. There we go. Kind of like wallow in their issues or whatever. If you want to say that sounded kind of a strong word, but that's the only thing I can think of right now. And so they bring it to you and then they want you to deal with it. And then that kind of creates drama in your life, blah, blah, blah. That's not too bad. Like that's something that can still be worked out or whatever. But the problem becomes if you have especially multiple people in your life and everybody's kind of doing that because they see you as that strong person who just kind of deals with things and keeps moving, and they feel like you're someone that they can confide in or they can come to when they have issues and get help or have a shoulder to cry on or whatever. Nothing wrong with that, but the problem becomes when if it's big numbers, lots of people, or at least more than you feel like you can handle, or two, this is the big one that we'll go into, is if it's a problem with you, like they're unhappy with something that you do or they're unhappy with something you're not doing, whatever. So then that analogy would be that, okay, they've got, like, you've got this issue, okay, let's just say whatever it is you're not doing or are doing. So they come to you, they throw their rock in your box, and you're like, okay, so then those two expand, and then especially if in your defense you try to explain what you did or why you do or whatever, right? And then that makes them more upset and feel bad to where now you've got the third rock that they throw in, which is like their feelings or whatever, like the actual feelings they have between the two of you or about the subject, whatever it is. So then you've got all these things coming together and just growing into this huge burden. And then you've got this person who really wants your help and they don't want you to just shrug it off or just try to deal with it or whatever. They want to wallow and they want you to wallow with them or whatever the case. This is very specific examples. It's kind of more broad than that, I think, but I'm just trying to illustrate the idea as quickly as possible. So then they're kind of like clinging on to you. So you imagine this person who's dragging this box of rocks behind them. They have people throwing rocks into it with them, causing them to be heavier and adding more weight. And then you've got the people tugging on them as well, trying to drag them down, hold them back. And the only way this person knows how to deal with their issues is to just keep moving, like to try to push forward, try to make life happen, try to make things work, regardless of how bad the circumstances are. Just whatever within the realm of your life or within the realm of your issues, you're just trying to make things work and trying to be happy and trying to function. And other people perceive that, I guess, as a strength. You know, you're just this impervious superhero of non-emotion or whatever. You just keep going, nothing stops that person. But they don't realize that that's kind of the curse of being the strong one, is that you're dealing with a lot of things and you're trying to allocate space for all these things in your life and your feelings and your mind, and they don't seem to realize just how much it adds up. So with that said, another aspect to this, of course, is what I want to refer to as the drama bubble. I personally, okay, I'll go on a personal note here. I hate drama. Like, drama is like one of the worst things to me. I really hate drama. I understand that sometimes it's a part of life. Sometimes you have to deal with it. I'm not saying that there can never be drama, but I hate it. So to illustrate how drama affects it, obviously these things I'm talking about, you know, issues and weight and burdens and stuff, have to do with things being dramatic, like drama being introduced into your life. But this strong person is trying not to be dramatic about it. They're trying to either be positive or at least just not dwell on it, whatever the case. And they're trying to function. So you imagine this person, like they got their box of rocks and they're dragging it. It's tough, but they're getting through. And they have this bubble around them, whatever the size of the bubble is, their okay zone. Like, this is like, I've categorized everything in my life. I know what's okay and what's not, the things I'm willing to accept and live with, and the things that I'm trying to change, blah, blah, blah. They're they're trying to figure things out, or they've got things figured out, and they're just trying to live and work and be happy and figure things out along the way and be alive and function as much as they can in the meantime. So you got this bubble, and outside the bubble is this big gray fog called the drama of the world and relationships and things. And you have the people who are, want your help. They see this strong person, and they come through and they just take their machetes and their knives and they just cut holes all in your bubble and make that drama just flood in like the ocean into the Titanic. So then the strong person, is forced to decide, like, what do I do? How do I keep moving when I'm being weighed down, when I'm being dragged backwards, when I'm trying to function and these people don't seem to realize that I'm trying to keep things going? I'm not just trying to ignore problems, but you can't just shut down and deal with all these problems and sit here doing nothing. I'm not saying there's no exceptions to the rule. I'm not saying this is the only way things work. This is just kind of my personal experience and the best way I could think to explain it. So, if you are that person, then good luck. Hopefully things will work out and you'll find a way to deal with things. And obviously throughout this process, when it comes to people in your life, some stay, some go, and you have to decide what things are worth to you and what you need to do. I am not going to try to give advice on that. And maybe if someone asks a question specifically, I would address it, but no general things with that subject. If you're not that person, if you have that person in your life and you realize that maybe you are taking advantage of their strength or of their lack of openness about their problems or whatever, then try to remember that everybody's human. Just because somebody doesn't break down and cry or complain a lot or just completely just shut down because of their problems or a problem, try to remember that they are still carrying something. They still have some kind of load that they're burdened with. It may not be as heavy as yours. It may be heavier than yours. You don't know, because everybody deals with their problems differently. But they may not be only what's on the surface. Just because they may look okay on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that they are. And just because they can push through and try to make things work doesn't mean they have a lot of room to carry your problems too. This is not to say that you can't go to someone for help. Obviously, if you're that person and you're dealing with something, then yes, ask for help. Count on the people who should be there for you. But I would say do it in a way that's responsible, that's reasonable, that takes into account their feelings too. Just because it seems like they might not be going through the same thing that you're going through or as much as you're going through doesn't necessarily mean that they're capable of carrying your burden as well as theirs. That's all I'm saying. That's it. I hope that was enlightening and at least an interesting description for something. Anyway, that's it for this week. I'm done. That's it. Hopefully next week, if I get the new webcam, it'll look better or something. But if not, then maybe the week after that, or maybe the week after that, or it probably won't work. Every time I try to upgrade stuff, it usually ends up setting me back somehow. I don't know why that is. You spend more money, you go up a tier, and it gets worse than the last thing you had. Don't ask me why, it just does. Thanks for joining me. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was entertaining in some way or another. And that's it. I will see you guys next week.